Hi, I'm Bill Proenza. We all know that we have a country that's vulnerable to hurricanes and tropical storms. But we also know how we can make ourselves resilient and know what to do to get ourselves out of harm's way. The first thing we need to do before the start of any hurricane season is to plan ahead. Plan ahead with our families, our businesses, and our communities. Have some sort of a plan that involves what we're going to do if we have to stay home to outlast the impacts of a hurricane. And that means we've got to plan ahead to have the food and the water and the medicine necessary for up to 2 weeks to outlast the impact of a hurricane in your area. And should we have a major hurricane, it is absolutely imperative that by then we have planned ahead to know how we're going to evacuate ourselves and our families out of harm's way. We need to remember that we need to know where we're going to go, how we're going to get there, and what we're going to take with us. We also need to remember to communicate with the rest of our family, wherever they happen to be, to let them know that you're safe. These are things that you can do in advance before the start of any hurricane season.
Well, are you ready for the 2007 season as it's currently been forecast? And obviously we're waiting on NOAA's take on that too.
Well, we're certainly ready for the season. However, we want to make sure that the public at large is ready. That's what it's all about, is preparedness. And we appreciate the job that you do with preparedness too. But it takes everybody working together in a big team effort to make sure that the American public is prepared. The thing that concerns me most is the fact that I'm hearing from the Census Bureau that now 53% of the total U.S. population is within the first 50 miles of the coast. People love living near the coastline. And with that, a lot of new people are moving towards the coast too, 7 million a year. And so there are many, many people who don't know what hurricanes are all about, have had very little experience with them. We've got to make sure we outreach, we educate, and prepare them.
One of the biggest things we see in the field, and you do too, is people get concerned about the immediate shoreline, the immediate coast when a landfall's coming, and they may evacuate a couple of rows back, or they may evacuate Tampa, but then they forget about the inland effects of hurricanes, and that's what kills more people than anything.
Absolutely. In fact, for example, we'll go back to Hurricane Floyd. Floyd lost its hurricane characteristics and really weakened a lot, yet it continued to produce torrential rains. And indeed, from that standpoint, it caused so much flash flooding. Many people lost their lives when roads were covered with water and they actually drove their vehicles into those roads. And they found out that it only takes a couple of feet of water to make their vehicle buoyant enough to where it loses all traction and gets carried off into the deep water.
And one of the things that you as the Hurricane Center Director can tell everybody, we talk about hurricanes, but tropical storms actually kill more people because there's more of them, and the flooding potential is still there with a tropical storm.
That's so true, and many of us will remember Tropical Storm Allison in the Houston area in 2001, June of 2001. There was a tropical storm early in the season, came onto the Houston area and dumped torrential rainfalls into that area. For days it rained. They had over a yard of rain in the Houston area. Tremendous numbers of people died. A couple of dozen people simply because they drove into water crossing the highway, or they walked into water, and it just takes a couple of feet of flowing water for a vehicle to be buoyant enough to lose traction and be carried off into the deep water, or even a person to be carried off. It's unnecessary, it's tragic, because these are deaths that could have been avoided.
We're here in the shadow of the Hurricane Hunter aircraft with Michelle Maynelli, one of the hurricane specialists from the National Hurricane Center in Miami. And tell us a little bit about what your job entails.
Well, right now, over the past year, I've been a hurricane specialist. I'm moving into my second hurricane season as a specialist. And our focus during the season is issuing those forecasts and creating a 5-day forecast for both intensity and track of where those hurricanes are going to move toward. We monitor the tropics throughout the entire year, but really focus on from June in May and June into the end of November. And during the off-season, we provide a great deal of time getting out there with the public, providing outreach and preparedness, and as well as research at conferences.
This early in the season, you're looking at the temperatures in the Gulf already near 80 and just offshore in the Gulf Stream getting warm. What do you think?
Well, you need you can't just have a warm ocean, is what we saw for the 2006 season. And you need both a favorable atmosphere and both a favorable ocean to really get those storms and really have them turning away out there. But right now, I mean, conditions are ripe. They're getting there, and they're going to be more conducive for hurricane formation as you go through the season and those favorable months, mostly August and September. It is important to remember that all hurricanes are not created equal. They are very different, and each hazard that goes along with them are different. They have winds associated with it, rainfall, storm surge. Inland flooding is a very potential threat that could potentially, you can lose your life in inland flooding as well as storm surge. So for those that migrate to the coastline and live close to the coastline as well as potential inland flooding areas, you have to know where you can go, where to evacuate to, and to be prepared.
And just like this P-3 Hurricane Hunter aircraft is here to help the National Hurricane Center be better prepared by getting better data, we're here to help your family be better prepared by getting better supplies for your emergency kit.